I don't know that much about, like, I've never heard the term religious appropriation in any circles that I've sort of had discussions about these kind of things. But
I would describe religious appropriation as being somebody who espouses or ascribes to a particular religion, let's say Christianity or Catholicism, and they sort of adopt pieces or practices from another religion.
I think religious appropriation means the adoption of a religious idea or practice by someone who does not identify as a member of that religion.
So religious appropriation to me means kind of like the blending of different religions and sort of adopting the beliefs of a religion separate from your own to kind of understand your own spirituality.
So I guess I would define religious appropriation as adopting another religious belief and adhering it to your own religious beliefs.
Understanding it through a cultural appropriation perspective, and I kind of understand cultural appropriation as someone taking something from a culture that's not their own and sort of like restructuring it in a way that doesn't have its original meaning or ties. So for me, religious appropriation is just sort of like a religious version of that. So taking things that have sort of a spiritual meaning to a particular group of people and then sort of like subverting it or changing it in a way that makes it particular to them and not always in the best way.
So maybe being that I'm a Christian, it wouldn't particularly strike me as offensive that places like Pier 1 and other commercial retail type industries are really the whole sale of like Buddha and Ganesh and things like that is evidently really taking hold, sort of like an artistic or popular commercial movement, if you want to call it that. So it doesn't. I don't find it offensive, but I suppose I could see how somebody who is a Buddhist or a Hindu would find that to be sort of undermining to something that they hold near and dear.
I think any of those things have the potential to be seen as offensive, but I also think they have a potential to make the person who owns those objects or does those practices develop a deeper respect or understanding for the religion that they're trying to emulate.
Personally, I'm not offended by it, but I also don't practice those religions, so I could definitely see it being offensive for somebody to see a commercial store like Pier 1 selling a very important religious statue in their store. However, I do also find it to be kind of important that there is sort of an appropriation of religion because we do live in such a materialistic society that I think that if people don't see it in their daily life, they're not really open to new religions, especially speaking to Eastern religions in the United States at least. It's definitely not a dominant sector of religion, and so I think that having this kind of appropriation of Eastern religions maybe opens people a little bit more to new religious beliefs and new practices. And with respect to people practicing meditation or practicing yoga, I very much am supportive of people exploring their spirituality, so I don't necessarily find it to be a negative thing.
I guess I could see this as potentially offensive. I mean, I guess because it's not my religious belief or my cultural beliefs, I guess I don't find it offensive, but I think when people adopt like religious appropriation figures like the Buddhist or the Om symbol or the Ganesh figure, I think we're adopting the likable aspects of religion and not necessarily appreciating what the entire religion has to offer.
I think like the biggest thing is when it loses that sense of like spirituality or loses that sense of like tradition and is then changed into something that doesn't have the same meaning.
Beyond practicing yoga like a couple of times, I wouldn't say that I've really engaged in a whole lot of religious appropriation personally.
Yes, I actually have used a lot of them, I guess. I have used meditation as a form of prayer and as just a way to relax. And I have done some yoga, and I have actually a Buddha on my bracelet right now.
So personally, I have definitely participated to some degree, I would say, in some forms of like mixing of beliefs. I am Catholic, but I definitely do engage in like meditation. I also am very interested in religions and different religions. So I think that just being a student at Fordham and having studied different theology classes have like to some degree been a way of appropriation of religion for me.
I definitely think I've engaged in religious appropriation quite a bit. My entire house is filled with Buddha statues, Ganesh statues, Om symbols, just for an aesthetically pleasing environment, and not necessarily because I practice Buddhism or Hinduism.
I have like too many answers to this question. I had a shirt from Urban Outfitters when I was younger that had a picture of Buddha on it and said like, "For good luck, rub my belly." Don't know why I owned that. I just realized that I have this candle sitting here that is it's not Jesus, it's Kanye West, which I didn't buy but was left for me in my office, and I have not changed it. So that's definitely like appropriating some level of religion. And yeah, I think I've done yoga before. I've sort of like, I think in a lot of ways like reappropriated different aspects of religion that I didn't really necessarily consider appropriation at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was definitely present.
I don't know if I would say that it's really appropriation. I think that I'm more likely to say that it's just sort of the spread of ideas and stuff like that.
I think it does depend on the person. I think if people are using these practices and ideas in a respectful way, then it can be a really good thing. But if they're not, then it has the potential to be very offensive. But I think for me, say I started my own religion and I heard that people who didn't identify as a member of my faith still wanted to use certain practices of mine, I would welcome that. I think it's a good thing.
I think that appropriation is kind of a catalyst for spreading of religion, like I said earlier. So I think to some degree, religious appropriation must be paired with the spread of religion. So I don't think that it is a negative thing or a bad thing that there is religious appropriation, because I think it allows for the spreading of new beliefs and new ideas to people that otherwise wouldn't know about them.
I definitely would say this is more religious appropriation, just because I guess in terms of the United States beliefs, since the United States is primarily, or predominantly rather, a Christian society, a nation, I think we definitely lack the respect and adherence to Eastern cultures and Eastern religious beliefs. So I think oftentimes we adopt the likable aspects and the pleasing aspects of Eastern religions, while we fail to account for the other strict and serious other aspects of them.
I think that like if the intention behind it is to sort of like educate people about the religion in particular, then that maybe isn't that is the spread of religion and culture. But when it's someone who's like Urban Outfitters using it to make a profit, or someone who's like really disrespectful and unaware of like the cultural and religious ties behind what they're wearing or doing or saying, then I think that that's when it's sort of appropriation, and that's when it's like something that you should be mindful of and aware of and sort of like try to scale back on.